Hey, welcome to the Citrus Events new segment of the show, MGTOW Machina. I'm your host, Cyrus McCormick, and today we have a very special guest, the one, the only HammerHands.
Gentlemen, good to see you. Thank you for having me on.
Mr. HammerHands, what is it that you do?
That's kind of a loaded question. Perhaps you'd like to be a little more specific.
What is the main philosophy of MGTOW?
The main philosophy of MGTOW is the philosophy laid down by our founders. Essentially, not to be put too fine a point on it, no cohabitation, no marriage, no unwanted or additional children. And essentially,
Awesome.
Don't submit yourself to usury, essentially.
Okay, so yeah, you're coming in clear too on the feed. That's awesome. I always get a little paranoid that, things aren't working the way they should be. But yeah, I'm still kind of new to all this. In fact, I'm still kind of new to MGTOW. I've only been a monk for like three years. I've been abstaining from women and limiting my interactions with them as much as possible, and just been kind of going to work and keeping my head down.
Yeah, man.
So I think with this, what I'm trying to do is try to get that sort of like younger and older viewpoints of how MGTOW goes for men nowadays, because we have this whole generation of men who are facing this sort of existential, horrible Western fall of women. And I want to learn more. I want to engage more. I want to have better, think of more ideas, be more disciplined in the practices of it and the philosophy of it, and understand it more deeper, I guess is the best way I could put it.
Right.
So I appreciate having you agreeing to have you come on.
Sure. Thank you, man.
So, for now, do you think that we're going to be finding more like in media MGTOW like talking points now that we have like your comic that you're making and everything?
Yeah, it's just starting to get there. The comic itself is not the media, the entertainment that I produce is not going to have anything to do really with that. It's just entertainment. It's just entertainment without all the shit in it.
We sorely need that.
Without all of the added crap. I mean, right now for my other channel, I'm reviewing Monarch, Legend of the Monsters, the Godzilla Monsterverse, and we're 3 episodes in, and it has to be one of the worst shows that I've ever seen as far as gynocentrism and feminism is concerned. It is just dripping with contempt for anything white men militaristic.
Damn.
It's awful.
So where can we find this review?
It will be up on my channel here in the next day or two on Pop Culture Rocks.
You hear that, guys? If you're not subbed, you should sub to Pop Culture Rocks. I love listening to him berate people while I'm at work in my headphones. My boss is like, "Why are you smiling?" Well, no, nothing. Just having a good old time there, boss man, as I'm just cutting away. So it has been it's been a weird year for me specifically. I was starting to like get up and running with since January to get this video game stream going with first person shooters and trying to make MGTOW, pixel art narratives, like I did earlier.
Right.
And then July hit and I got into like this life-changing thing, which I have to say, looking back on, I'm glad I made the decisions I did, because I'm in such a better spot now. So,
man, I'm glad to hear that. I hope that it wasn't too life-changing.
Oh, not too life-changing, but I would say more of like a moth emerging from a cocoon into a better version of myself.
Well, I guess that's what we all should try to expect from ourselves, but you've got to be willing to put the effort in. You've got to be willing to understand what's going on out here in the world. And, look, man, there's a lot of stuff out here that is laid for men to trip over, and they depend on a few certain things that hasn't changed since the beginning of time. One is going to be your innate hardwired attraction to women. The second one is your protect and provision instinct. And these things are used to harm you. And I think that most men need to understand this now. Some men do, but most men don't. And we need to be in a position where we're talking about 51% of all men really get this and they really understand it. And it's not an idea to go out there and hate females. I make fun of them all day long because I can't stand what they have become. But as far as hating them, I don't hate them. I just don't care for what they are.
Simps. You also make fun of simps, and it's balanced, I say, pretty well on yours and Chronic's channel.
Sure.
When it comes to like making fun of everyone.
Sure.
But what we're making fun of is like the weakness, the evil, the disgusting degeneracy that is rampant everywhere.
Yeah, and it deserves to be mocked and called out and shamed as often as you see it. You know, if you're in, this is my own personal opinion. I don't want anybody to go out and ruin their lives based on my opinion. If you're at a job where you can't do the job because you're surrounded by this kind of crap, get another job. You know, if your friends endorse sodomy for children, even sodomy for adults, you have to really concern yourself with the idea of who your friends are now. We've become very, very complacent, very cucked, very cowed. It's been a nonstop program for 70 years to put people in this box, to put them in this position of accepting this filth and this detritus. And I refuse. I'm not going to.
You know, it's funny. I was using this YouTube channel for like more than like, I think, 8 years. And all I've been doing is just like uploading animations to kind of make like this portfolio just to sit here and just, you know, reference whenever I wanted to, you know, do stuff. I wasn't going to be engaged in all this until I found your guys' channel right after my fiance left me.
Right on.
And
so
I was like looking for answers, and all I was seeing initially, I was one of those guys that was seeing Crouch, Greg Adams, you know, those Andrew Tate types. This is how you get the girls. And I'm like, no, I don't want girls. I want to know what's going on, because I did everything by the book. I did what you guys said.
That's right.
I followed it to a T. And it's still bend me over head its way with me.
Yeah.
So I stumbled across Chronic, and then I would watch him for like a couple months, and then he disappeared. Then I see him again with another number across his name. I'm like, what's going on with this guy?
Yep.
And then it just snowballed, and then I found you. He kept having you on. I'm like, what's MGTOW? What's all this? And then I was like, oh, this is what I've been living like majority of my life until I, you know, was engaged, and then she left, and then boom, I'm back to it. I'm like, huh.
Without getting, you know, too personal or anything, did she happen to give a reason?
No, not really. Just I was wrapped in my head during COVID. It was like during 2020, and I have to say, looking back on it, this is what Chronic told me, because I remember jumping into his stream. I think a couple years ago, 2 years ago, I jumped into his stream and I told him like I was almost married to a single mom with 2 kids from 2 different bastards.
Ooh, not a good way to go.
Yeah, that's what my life could have been. And then 2020 hit. She calls me and it's like, I don't want to give you my body for your own child, even though you're going to watch over my 2 kids.
Nope.
And then I was like, excuse me, we agreed on this. This is why I'm marrying you. I said I'd take care of your kids, you know, just as much as I would care for mine, but I want my own child too. And she just on a dime flipped.
They don't care.
And I ran out. My friend drove me over there. I put the ring on the car. I was like, you have a good life. Good luck.
Yeah, they don't care. Their biological curiosity and imperative has been satisfied. So then their mission changes. They don't give a shit about taking care of you and making sure that you have a legacy to carry forward too. I think a legacy is a wonderful thing. It's an important thing, but is it so important that you're willing to sell your soul to achieve it? I don't think so.
It's not. You're not making a legacy. What you're making is retrobated minds that are going to be absorbed into this gynocentric system.
That's correct.
Like a logic loop.
Yeah.
Like we look back in the times of Noah in the Bible. Why were everyone just repeatedly like degenerates and sodomy and all that? Why was it going on for so long that God was like, okay, flood time. Okay, there is something to like a loop that can occur in the human psyche where it will just continue on. So we have that to consider. I think that we're entering that sort of, you know,
I agree with you. We're already in it. There's just no. We've been in an extended period of this type of, I'll say it outright, abuse. This type of psyop. We've been in this for a long, long time, and I don't think people can see who they really are and who they were supposed to be. You know, it's just kind of covered up by these ghosts and phantoms of what people think history is. And most of everything that you're going to get out here is just somebody's feelings and opinion belched out as a pseudo fact.
Right. And it's really hard sometimes when you grow up in the system. Like I would say you kind of were too, but you've been like, you have more time on your hands in order to have that experience and knowledge and foresight and experience throughout this lifetime. Me kind of growing up into like the technology era where it's all everywhere in my face 24/7 growing up, and it rapidly evolving, from media and cartoons and everything like that. What I saw was always, be a white knight, be a simp, be a cuck. That was the message that was constantly in my face. My mom enforcing all that.
Well,
but it's, you kind of grow up into this like sort of like rigid, anxiety filled sort of like personality where it's like, you're unsure of yourself and you lose all your confidence and you don't know what to ask. You don't know if you can believe in yourself.
Yeah, you're not wrong, man. I mean, look, the apparatus directed itself at one half of the population, assumedly one half of the population, and they figured that they could get money from them, but they needed to figure out how to get money from them. And the best way to do that is turn them into an oppressed class of people, even though that they were some of the most gifted, well looked after human beings at that point in time ever. And today they still are. Just now they're suffering from a cup too full. Their cup does runneth over, and they think that it's a dry cup. It's very, very strange to watch the way that these people are operating today.
I've kind of gone to the point where, so my sense of humor is based on absurdity. I love absurdity. I find it so funny. The more absurd something is, like being a homosexual, that's so absurd to me. I find it hilarious.
Yes, sir.
So,
no, I don't disagree with you on that. Look, we have a biology that works one way. It's men, it's women. They come together, they mate, they make more men and women. And when you have two people scissoring or two guys sword fighting, that's not going to happen. So the only way that they can continue on their warped sexual perversions and ideas is to co-opt the children of the people that did it the right way.
Right. It's not even. I remember being like, my mom homeschooled us up until like 7th
Good
grade.
on you.
Yeah, and she had the foresight. Like I get into arguments with my mom, but she did a lot of things pretty correct, and so did my dad. It was a weird experience, and maybe sometime later I'll get into it. But we were going through that sort of like where they were talking about like the gay gene and all that getting shoved down everyone's throat through all this make-believe science. And my mom's like, I kind of came up with my own thoughts. It's like, you have complete control of where your wiener goes.
Yes.
That's what it comes down to. All it is degeneracy.
Yeah, she's not
YouTube's
wrong.
Probably not going to like that, but YouTube, guess what? I'm kind of wanting to strike so that I get that as a badge of honor, because it's a long time coming. So go for it,
It's sad the way that people are, man, and the way that they've gone. And I don't know what to say to these folks that have gone down this road that anybody else in the world hasn't already tried to say. When you say that we were born like this, no, you weren't born like this. You were made this way.
That's a cope, and I love that. You are coping. Yeah, I want to animate that so bad in SFM, but I've been so busy.
Yeah, there's a ton of folks out there, man, that really do toe that line, and because they can't find their own answers, and they don't have the strength to back out of the degenerate hole that they're in, they just embrace it. They say, I'm already here. I might as well go on ahead and go all the way in.
Another thing would be like unlimited internet access at a young age, when the internet was something that my parents didn't understand what it was. And it wasn't until about a couple years in that my mom was like, okay, there's some dangerous places you can accidentally get to. So she was very careful, but it was a bit too late. A lot of damage was done. But, I was curious about answers. I was going through that horrible first beginning of puberty. And I was like, Mom, Dad, what's sex? They're like, that sires, we're yelling at each other. Just like, okay, because they weren't good to each other. I'm just like, I know, I'll Google it. What is sex? Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean,
it is what it is. But people who don't have like people who parents who are responsible in that, and I'm not going to really 100% fault them, but they're imagine all the kids my age and all the millennials my age who are just no limits, no, like, I'm not going to cross this barrier, I don't want to go down that path, and they just keep going darker and more degenerate online. That's where you get hard to do green posts.
Not hard to do when you don't have anybody there to take care of you or look out for your best interests. You know, that's a terrible way to live, but it is what we've got, unfortunately.
This is the cards we're dealt with. We can make it work. You just got to be willing to try. And I think a lot of people are scared to try sometimes. Because it's scary to fail, but it's, I think, worse to just not even try.
Yeah, I agree with you. But, you know, we also have this problem where this stuff has been here almost since the beginning of time, and the push to normalize it has been intense for the last 80 years or so. But there was another push over there in Europe, you know, in a country that borders France, and they had somebody see their way out of it, and they knew who was to blame. They knew who was pushing this crap and this degeneracy, and they kicked them out of the country.
Really? I thought that was all about a misunderstanding.
No misunderstanding there.
No, I think it was about him saying he wanted a glass of juice, not the gas the juice.
Correct.
Sorry, I was just making a bad joke.
No misunderstanding there at all. He knew what he was doing, and they knew what they were doing.
I was just making a horrible joke that I heard online. So on this channel, yeah, I do love talking about serious topics. Sometimes I throw in zingers and jokes in here, but that whole thing, yeah, learning it from my mom was very interesting. Judeo-Christianity is the way I was grown up, and a lot of people miss the mark about what Israel and the Banker Boys or Small Hat Tribe people are about. There's going to be a reason why in Revelations they are sought out. Okay, it's not for no reason. It never was for no reason. You can't get a whole group of people to go after a group of people for no reason. They must have been doing some very bad crap in 109 countries.
Agreed. And that I don't think is going to change with these folks. So,
and my mom's surprised when I tell her this. She's like, she was on the phone crying about the you know, supposed babies and all that in Israel and Gaza, and I'm like, have you read Revelations, Mom? It's have you read the Bible? Have you read it?
You know, that didn't happen.
I know, but you try telling that to an emotional female.
So they debunked that almost as fast as it came out. It was interesting that the same trope was used to involve us in Kuwait and Iraq.
Yeah, and
you know,
they can get all the LGBT people to go and fight for Israel. I'm good. I'm a toxic white cis male that's also racist. Remember?
Well, I never used their language to describe myself, so no, I do not know what you mean about that one.
I would just pantomime like you know, the Fortnite dance if they came up to me. It's like, come on, like, I'm not doing anything for you. Seriously. I had good instincts back in high school and in college not to join the military or police force. And I'm glad that paid off because I'm not dead for some other country. No offense to everyone out there. You know, it's hard to hear, but it's like so many people, you know, in my peers and everything, like, they just got used.
Yeah, they did. There's a lot of people out here. As a matter of fact, you know, some people don't like it when I point this out, but I'm going to point it out. Everybody is being used and abused and lied to in some way, shape, or form. That includes women. Unfortunately, the women are also being used and pointed at us to keep us in a certain way, to do unto us. And that's unfortunate, but you have to recognize it.
Well, you know, they're pretty smart to think that way, but they reference Genesis and giving the apple to the woman once again.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it goes back a long ways, but they, of course, for the second time, most notable second time, have turned their backs on us. And I'm not going to be here, and I'm not raising my son to be here for these people. They're going to have to figure it out, and it's going to be difficult for them.
Yeah, and that's what I have to think as a young man who's got all this testosterone. I'm a young, healthy body, you know, and I have all this, you know, let's say, you know, spunk, I guess, that's, you know, ready to go. But I think ahead. It's like, okay, what is my daughter or son going to be? What's going to happen to him? Will I have access to him? And I just imagine what they would look like, and imagine them being ripped away from my arms, and imagine everything that HammerHands told me about what he's experienced and what every other MGTOW person has told me. And I do not want to do that to my child. rather they not be here than have them here and get destroyed and used in a system like that.
Yeah, it's pretty rough.
It's a hard thing to think about, because that drive, especially as a young man who's like, yeah, I can take on the world and I can defend people and the frogs and all that, and we're just gonna, get a little Alexy Jones in here.
Well, Jones in that particular instance is not wrong. He's not incorrect.
Of course not. And I love Alex Jones. In fact, he released a video game and I want to play it. It's a pixel like Contra sort of looking game. So I want to download it and play that. I hope it's on Steam. If not, I'll find some backdoors and look for it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what else is on the ticket, man? What else you want to talk about?
Well, cartoons back then versus now kind of like bridge that sort of generational gap, because I've been wanting to go on, sail the high seas, as you say, and find some good cartoons. Like, I missed out on Transformers. I missed out on like He-Man, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing these movies as a young lad coming out, and all the people older than me, like the adults and everything, are like, oh, we gotta go watch it, and then we go watch it, and they're like, that's not Transformers, that's that's garbage. I'm like, what was it like for cartoons back in the day to have like that sort of like meaning to be created and sort of like inspiration and storytelling? Well, because what I get is, I do have a few of that, but nowadays it's like Steven Universe garbage.
I'd be lying to you if I said that all of them were blockbusters and they were awesome. They weren't, and we remember them fondly and sometimes with rose-colored glasses on. But the fact of the matter is that we lived through the best time for the weekday cartoons after school, for the Saturday morning schmear that started at 6 a.m. and didn't end till 12:30. It was fantastic. It was great. The anime that you call it anime today, it was Japanimation then. We called it Japanimation. So I don't know where the switch got made, but it was never called anime.
Yeah, here's the thing. Like I said, here's the generational gap. Growing up in middle school, everyone was this annoying anime lover, and they wouldn't shut up about anime. I was like Dragon Ball Z, and they'd be like, oh, Dragon Ball Z, oh, that's for low-brain muscleheads like you, Cyrus, oh. Sort of like attitude towards me in middle school. I was like, but I like Dragon Ball Z, isn't that anime?
Yeah.
And it's like, I go back in time, and then I start looking at the art styles of what's considered anime today, and then Japanimation. I'm just like, there's grown women back then that they drew, and this phenomenal art style, and Studio Ghibli, this was what it was like for anime back then, and Japanimation. Yeah. And then I get stuck with this toddler design, kitten face, annoying pitch. I just want to rip in terror.
A lot of that stuff came from, fortunately, but unfortunately, there was one guy that you can track that back to. His name was Haruhiko Mikimoto.
Where is he? Is he still alive?
His name is Hal, and I don't believe that he is. He's called Hal, but his Japanese name is Haruhiko Mikimoto, and he did an OVA called Macross, and Macross was pretty incredible, but we didn't see it as Macross over here. It debuted over here as a series called Robotech.
Robotech?
Yes, called Robotech.
I've heard of it. I think I've heard of that.
Robotech, there were a few that came before Robotech. Battle of the Planets would be one. G-Force. That was a Gatchaman team over in Japan. And these were nearing their end, or they were not really received incredibly well. They have matured over time, and people have really come to love them and respect them. But he was the guy that was essentially responsible for the big eyes and the extreme neoteny in the faces of females and males. And everybody just tried to cue off of that. And it went to some pretty absurd lengths.
It's kind of like the Cal art style that they've mimicked from like Gravity Falls and all that, where they put in Steven Universe and a few other cartoons that had good premises, good ideas, but Cartoon Network, hive mind, liberalism and LGBTQ infected them. Gravity Falls is pretty okay. I don't think it's as good as people think it is, but it does have an interesting story and it has a satisfying end. I hate cartoons that don't fucking end. Like Simpsons, just hang the family already, just kill them. They're in misery.
That's another gripe that I have is things like The Simpsons. That's why I don't watch shit like American Dad or South Park or any of that crap, because the more that you ingest of that, the weaker the chances are that you're going to get really, really good animation.
Right. I like experimentations. I like the fact that Aqua Teen Hunger Force was all made in Adobe Photoshop. And it was like pilot episode was like released at 3 a.m. And it still had like a couple of seasons and a couple movies made. I'm like, wow. I think it's very entertaining, but it's like, I do love experimentation. I like people that try. I don't like experimentation that is lazy though, like 12-ounce mouse or whatever that show is. That was garbage just thrown onto a screen, and my eyes are now sullied from watching that. But Adult Swim, it seems to be like in this weird position where you get stuff like Smiling Friends, which the creator Zach Hadel, I've been a fan with since Newgrounds, since he's been on Newgrounds. And it's good to see that he's at least, unique style and unique character designs are exactly as I would imagine, his gremlin mind would make. And it's good to see that sort of experimentation being brought through Adult Swim. I miss it through Cartoon Network, I really do. And so with Nickelodeon as well. Nickelodeon, though, was just weird. I have to say, Nickelodeon was such a weird place to be.
I think a lot of it was.
Yeah, it had that one guy, Dan Schneider, I guess. He was like this creep. Like, was into feet and all that. Or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that. I know that these fucking guys out here that do this stuff, they're not real anymore. They're not real. They're just people now that push agendas, and they're installed in one place. And unfortunately for that place, it gets destroyed. And we've seen too much of it.
With X-Men, okay, that's a good point in the chat. Someone mentioned X-Men, Jean and Rogue. And I remember seeing the designs. They look so good. Like comic books on the screen. It looked like a comic book, moving and stuff like that. Like the Batman animated series back in the 90s.
Yeah.
That was showed. Like, that stuff was amazing. And
yeah, that was fantastic.
They reran these shows when I was, older. And I got to experience them on side with people. Especially Boomerang, too. Boomerang was a network that showed Hanna-Barbera old cartoons. And I had a fascination with those. Especially Popeye. Love Popeye.
They were magnificent, man. I mean, I wish I could tell people what this stuff was and how cool it was. But I can't tell them that because they didn't live it, and I don't think that they would understand it. Fortunately, 99% of anything that I could reference is out here for you to go and view because the information age made it possible.
Yeah, that's the beauty of that. That's the, the yin to the yang of the side of the internet.
Yes.
We got that sort of beauty that we can also relive. But I think reliving is also a trap most people fall into, especially with people trying to reboot series like the Powerpuff Girls. My God, what the hell? That was a self-insert, that was a downgrade, and it was disgusting, and I hope whoever was involved that is blacklisted from making cartoons forever for the rest of their lives.
No, I don't think that they will be.
I think they got promoted.
My man, I don't think they will be. So,
The guy who wrote for the new Powerpuff Girls self-inserted himself in a relationship love interest with one of the child characters.
Oh, that's pretty bad, bro. Pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Yeah. Keep writing. And here, grab the shovel, start digging, and close your eyes and think of the rabbits, George.
Yeah.
Think of the alfalfa patches.
Yeah, bunny time.
Bunny time. Is that? I guess so we can use that. Yeah, it's bunny time. Everyone will know what we're talking about. But yeah, that's sort of like I've been seeing more and more like old fashioned. I saw this one clip from one of the X-Men the animated series where I think what's the name of the guy who like shapeshifts, or not shapeshifts, but he shifts through planes with like the demon tail. He's I think
Nightcrawler,
yeah. He gives, I guess, Wolverine a Bible, and they were talking about Christianity.
Nice.
Like, that would never happen nowadays.
No.
He's like, you even see, I think at the end, Wolverine quoting the Bible in a steeple, and I'm like, what? This is beautiful. I don't want more of this.
Well, I'll tell you, there was also something very similar with the scarification on the Nightcrawler character in the X-Men movie. I don't think that you'd see that today.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think you'd see that today, especially in reference to Christianity.
And it's always, bad and Christians are evil. I'm like, yeah, persecution in the name's Lord. I've heard it all.
Yeah, no, they're not any of that, man. I mean, you fuck with them, they're gonna fuck with you back. And I'm shocked that Christians, as a whole, have been as patient as they have been. I hope it's patience and not cucketry, because if they're in that, they're done.
I guess the optimism in me is like, yeah, it's patience, but the, maybe the pessimist is, or realist is like, maybe a lot of them are, Chinos, as Chronic calls them, Christian in name only.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that's going to be happening. So, man, cartoons are such a beauty to be added in this existence, I have to say. I mean, I for as long as I can remember, watching Samurai Jack and all that with my father, always wanted to, like, make cartoons. But, I went to college, and they're like, oh, in order to get to BYU and all that, you have to go through all these hoops and hurdles. Like, can I just learn 3D animation? Like, no. You have to pay all this money and use our labs. So I was like, how about no? So I grabbed my best friend, Louie. He's been on the show before. And he showed me how to build computers. I built my computer, got Source Filmmaker, and started learning myself.
Yeah, pretty incredible stuff, man. Pretty incredible.
What would you do if, like, your comics and what you're doing gets turned into an animated TV series?
The first thing that I would do is decline any deal that makes it look like it's The Simpsons, or where I lose any type of creative control.
You're gonna have Seth MacFarlane voice your character? Yeah, hey Lois,
No.
Look, I'm in a comic made by Hammerhand. Yeah.
Nah, I'm good. No, I'd rather ice pick my thighs.
Oh,
So,
jeez.
No, nothing like that. For me, you have to maintain. Let's say that the book, when I put the book out, that it's incredibly popular, it's wonderful, blah blah blah. Right? Of course, we hope that it's going to be that, and it's received well. Let's say that that's the truth, and it's received well. It gets down the road a few years. You get a few more editions in, and somebody wants to adapt it. Number one, you can't lose control of your property. Number two, you have to be willing to say no and walk away from the deal. The best animation companies in the world right now are not getting the majority of the contracts out there to animate because everything is cheap. It's sold in China, it's sold in India, it's sold wherever these people are making Marvel and DC books now.
Korea, stuff like that.
Yeah, for a third of the fucking price.
Animation sell like 25 cents per cell that they make and stuff like that.
Yeah,
outsourced, and
it's trash.
It's like we mentioned earlier, Steven Universe, one of the worst cartoons ever made on TV. I was a fan for specific reasons because I liked one character, and she's on screen right now, because I thought she was like the funniest character on this, on the show, and she had a likable personality, and she's green, so there you go. And but everything else was like gay, as you would say.
Hey, I got to go. Yeah, absolutely.
We did it, lads. We did it. I'm gonna like learn how to like press a button and have like the flashing colors in the word gas when I get my channel like working. I guess I got ADHD brain, but yeah, you got this cheap, not on reference sheet at all. Like the characters' designs and like shapes and everything were always like off reference of what they were supposed to be, and so it's just a lazy cartoon. But what do you expect from Rebecca Sugar? She cucked Finn in Adventure Time by not letting him get be the Chad he was meant to be with all the women after him. They're like, no, this is too manly, so we're gonna cuck him and make him fail.
Yeah,
like, all right, that's nice.
I don't expect anything from these folks anymore, and look. It's not that long ago where I'm thinking to myself that I'm never going to be in a position to go out there and at least try to put together a book or some other form of alternative entertainment because of all of the creepy, nasty, filthy shit that's going on in entertainment now, and it's in every vein. And that wasn't that long ago. And now I'm ass deep in it, pardon the pun. So... that's where it's at. The alternative lanes are starting to open up and kind of try to correct the ship, except the ship doesn't belong to these people that are fucking everything up. It belongs to us. It belongs to the people that made these properties. You can make a movie all day long, but if nobody shows up to the movie, then what have you done? You've just wasted time and effort.
Would you agree that certain, let's say, stories should end rather than continue.
Yes, I would. I find that the continuance of certain IPs is very, very risky, especially if you end on a high note. It's very risky to do. It's lightning in a bottle, and we see lightning in a bottle. You can see it. Star Trek probably should have never gone any farther than Star Trek 3 in the cinema. Star Wars probably should have never had prequels or anything after the fact. Yes, people miss it. It's like, oh my goodness, God, we should have more of that. I would agree. But what happens when you give them more and the person steering the ship is a fucking psycho?
Iceberg ahead.
Yeah, I mean, look at what we got.
Bitch.
Yes, look at what we got. Everybody went into the new Star Trek films. Oh, it's gonna be great. I was willing to give them a pass on the first one. I could feel the first one. After that, it was fucking done. It wasn't Star Trek. The same thing with Star Wars, the same thing with RoboCop, the same thing with Indiana Jones, the same thing with Doctor Who, and the same thing with all of your animation efforts, especially things like He-Man.
And Powerpuff Girls, He-Man, all the other stuff they're trying to reboot. The only one that succeeded was because Samurai Jack was put on Adult Swim, and he ended it. It was a story to end his story. It wasn't to continue on and make new... No, he ended Samurai Jack. He made one more season. He's like, I just want to end and finish the story I never got to. And it was amazing.
Yeah, it's my understanding they did that with what, the Rebels or the Clone Wars? Which one was it that they did that?
Clone Wars.
Clone Wars? Yeah.
Clone Wars, yeah, because I never watched Clone Wars. I was more into Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon era. Clone Wars and stuff was like, I think, on XD or some other channel. But back in the day, guys, there was this thing called a TV with channels that you would have to go and watch at certain times in order to catch your favorite shows. So I keep forgetting, like, right now we're in the streaming era, but 10 years ago when I was like in middle school, high school, that's how I would watch cartoons. Yeah, you could pre-record it, but then my mom and my brother's like, no, we want to watch this movie. We recorded it, watch it. And I was like, but I want to watch SpongeBob. You're grounded, Cyrus.
Yeah, it's some pretty crazy shit, man. Pretty crazy
Some
shit.
things need to end and die, and that's just nature. And it's supposed to be beautiful. You can't have something last forever. It's what these psycho, billionaires and stuff who are like looking for immortality. It's like, we've seen all the movies, we heard all the stories. Immortality is falsehood.
I don't think that these guys are so much worried about trying to restart a brand. For me, the way that I've heard these people talk, the way that they move, for me, it's icing on the cake if the restart or the addition to is a success. These people are psychopathic narcissists that have to put their worldview into everything. And that's what you're seeing right now.
Yeah.
It's not about choice, my man. It's not about representation. It's not about any of that. It's about a psychopathic worldview that most of the world does not share. So, it's social engineering, and Hollywood's in it big time.
Yeah, and all narcissists are cowards deep in their hearts. They're all cowards.
I think
I'm not afraid of them at all, and nobody should be. And anybody working around them should not work with them or have anything to do with them. But they want their job more than they want to do what's right, so they fall in line because they think they're at least they have a job underneath my belt. It's like animation is an art. It will always be an art. And do you want to have your legacy tied to something that is degenerate, that's disgusting, that's destroying society and rotting the brains of people? That's not telling a story. It's projecting this insecure version of the narcissist who's heading this shit. And do you want a part in that? You want your hand on that canvas, making the cog that's going to create this massive bomb that's going to destroy everything?
I'm fairly certain that they just don't mind that.
They don't think that far ahead, because conditionally they're like, it's just a job to me, or I'm just following orders, that sort of thing.
Well, I've come across that with quite a few things in life. I've been fortunate enough to push hard to get close to some of these folks to kind of pick their brains. And when you find out, like, the best example that I can give you right now is Harrison Ford. When you hear Harrison Ford talk about Star Wars, it was a means to an end. That's all it was to him. It's always only been that. And anybody watching Star Wars from the outside that likes Star Wars can't fathom that it was just a paycheck. And he's more than willing to tell you every single time the subject comes up, yeah, man, I just made sure that I could work again and blah, blah, blah. And Han Solo should have died. It's so fucking disappointing. So disappointing that these people just do this thing because they're being paid, not because they love it.
I mean, if you have that sort of mindset, you do well in the labor force and physical activity. Sure, like butchering and stuff like that, that's perfect for you. It's just a job it needs to amend. When you do art, when you do theatrics, when you do that cultivates the culture around us. That represents what our society likes and doesn't like. That gives us that personality across the world and travels down for eons. When you do something like that and have a part of that, and the first idea is, I just want money, then I guess that's all you'll end up. Full in his money or soon parted.
Well, I mean, Harrison Ford has a legacy that cannot be denied, right? He's been in the right place at the right time for most of his life. And I guess he knew the right people, and congratulations to him, you know? But I personally, if anybody on the let's say that I'm an actor down the road. I obviously don't expect that to happen.
Can I hire you as an actor for my biography movie? Can you play like me in an older version as you look back in the past?
I mean, sure. If you want to be old, bald, and busted, sure.
Hell yeah.
Sure, you got it? Okay, man. If we can do that, then it is on. I'm hireable.
Or how about this? We get you one of those like multicolored beanies with like the like twirling hat, and I give you a lollipop. You act as young me.
No, I don't do the beanie thing. No beanie thing.
Okay, no beanie.
No.
But we'll have you cast as a younger version of me.
Wouldn't want to be confused with Tim Pool, so no.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, guys, new rule: no beanies allowed.
No beanie.
No beanies allowed.
Piss on that guy.
Oh, before I forget, I wanted to make it clear to anybody in the chat, HammerHand did make sure I wasn't a minor that he was talking to. So he is on top of all that.
Oh, yeah,
so,
absolutely.
If anybody had any doubts about that or thinking that they can scrutinize him or destroy his name like that, y'all can go fuck yourselves.
Well, they've tried. Now, I'm not necessarily suggesting that the chat here is trying it, but there's so many.
If anybody's going to come back to this live stream where you're on to try and get dirt on you, I'm just making it clear. You asked me for information to make sure you weren't dealing with somebody you shouldn't be dealing with or anything up like that.
Correct.
So, this guy is what he says he is. He's always been like that. And for as long as I've listened to you, you know. Just wanted to make that point clear. Okay? You listening, feds?
Yeah, they're listening.
At my camera.
They're listening.
Hey, can you hear me in there? By the way, I won't die for Israel. Sorry.
Yeah, we're done with that one, man.
Sorry.
We're done with that. Oh, we're good, man. So what else you got on the card there, brother?
I think somebody mentioned Chronic starting in 10 minutes. Were you going to be on his show?
No. As a matter of fact, I'm editing. I took some time away from editing to jump into this. And if there's anybody out there that's listening, I have not posted on my channel simply because I've been forbidden from posting on my channel.
Ooh.
So.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, if you ever want to use my channel, you're more than free to join in. Whenever.
No, you can't do that to yourself, man. Because as soon as something like that happens and they figure out that I'm broadcasting on your channel, they'll kill your channel.
Oh, sweet. Awesome. Let's do it. I want to see that number go from 0 to 2 on the Cytrus channel. I mean, here's a funny thing. I've gotten pretty lucky, especially with Twitter. I did Twitter like pre Elon Musk, like years way before, like long time ago, like 2013. And I drew my character and put him as a profile pic. And if you look at the profile pic and see what he's holding, it says, fag on it.
Mm-hmm.
It says that. And it's been up, and I haven't been banned or striked this entire time. I was so confused. I was like, it clearly says, the faggot word. And I'm like, wow, okay. Well, I guess I'm pushing my luck, but I don't care. I really do enjoy your content. I'm subscribed to Pop Culture Rocks. I'm subscribed to HammerHand. Is it 9?
Yeah, it's 9.
Everybody go subscribe to him. If you just tuned into me, 35 views, it's whatever, but I still want people to, go subscribe and donate to HammerHand if you can for his comic so we can stick it to him, I guess. And enjoy his stuff too, because I really want to see your book. I really want to get into that because I've never been into comics, but I've seen cartoons of comics, so I think this is my chance to, like, once it gets released and everything, I'm excited to be a part of and enjoy it.
Well, this is not going to be. It's not going to be a comic / graphic novel, whichever one it turns out to be. It's not going to be for the faint of heart, man. It's definitely not going to be PG.
Okay.
So it's very, in my opinion, anyways, it's going to be very high end. It's going to have complex stories and story arcs, and I hope that that's something that folks can get into, because I've noticed that even with a lot of the CG stuff that's coming out now, it's simplistic, and that does not appeal to me. I don't like that. So
yeah, it's like stale muffins that you find in the back of Costco, where the homeless man was eating them.
Yeah, it's pretty close to it. And look, I'm not saying that I won't have some elements like that in there. Of course, I will, but it just has to be, for me, it has to be complex, because I like that. That's part of the personality of the entire series of characters, is that they're complex. They're fleshed out humans. They're just 2D humans, or aliens or whatever.
Yeah, and I can't wait, because people in my generation, millennials, for some reason have been trying to rehash, redo, and relive the past. And I've been thirsty for something new. When something new comes along, I'm like, oh, thank God. Because on the video game side of things, you get people who are just like, trying to remake stuff that shouldn't be remade. And it had its purpose.
I love the past. I think that you can learn from it, and I think that it has a lot to offer us, especially newer human beings. I think you have a lot to learn. And what I find really disturbing about people today is how easy it is for them to say, look, man, I Googled it. I know what I'm talking about. And that is so depressing to hear people say something like that.
That they Googled something?
Yeah. That you used Google at all for a reference. You can use it as a baseline, but you have to back it up. It's like going to Wikipedia and saying, yeah, I checked it on Wikipedia, man. I know what's up. Go to the bottom of the wiki page, anyone, and look how many times that source has been altered.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why I listen to Chronic, that's why I listen to you, that's why I listen to Ribby, and I make my own conclusions. And if I am very curious about something, I go and do my own research. And
you have to.
I use Bean. It's like the meme where it's like, how to build, BOMB. And it's like, Google's like, well, here you could use this craft recipe in Minecraft and all that. And Bean's like, here's what you do. It's like super serious. I love that. I love that meme. It's just like, so funny. I also like using iFunny. The app iFunny. It's like a 4chan Lite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's very psychotic over there. Very schizo. In fact, we're going to end the stream with a schizo post.
Nice.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, just let me up. I downloaded it today. I was like, you know what? If we're gonna end the stream, I want to do something that's gonna be pretty funny. The schizo post of the day. This comes from 4chan. This is somebody posting on there, and I'm just gonna read it out loud for everyone. The metric system is pushed by liberal Redditors who want to live in a pod and eat bugs. American measurements are based upon real life. How long is your foot? It's a foot long. You can walk, putting one foot right in front of one another to roughly calculate distances.
Jeez.
A mile is a measurement derived from the average length of 1,000 paces, standardized upon the length of ancient Roman Emperor Marcus Agrippa's own foot. While using the imperial system is to embrace nature and reality, the metric system is a soulless corporate system that views the world in a similar way to a robot. That is 3 feet tall. They can compare its height to other objects that are approximately 3 feet tall. When a metric soyjack sees something that is 3 feet tall, they do not compare it to the things around them, but instead to an arbitrary distance standardized by some Mark Zuckerberg-type ruler. Finally, the metric system is inherently globalist, as its users seek to spread it throughout every location on the globe, instead of allowing cultures to make up their own system based upon their unique needs. And that is why I say CM stands for Communist Measurements.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, man. It's funny, but there's some truth to that.
That's what makes it so good. Like,
Yeah.
I love the ones that just skirt reality just a tiny bit, and it's like posted on an unhinged website like 4chan. It makes it so absurd, but I love it because it has some base to it.
Yeah, there's absolutely some truth to that.
All right.
All right, brother.
It has been a pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. And if you ever feel like coming on, I am more than happy to do so. I don't care if I lose 50 channels. I think this is worth it.
It's been my pleasure to be here. Thanks a lot to everybody that tuned in, and thank you for hosting me, man. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll catch you on the next one. Remember, go subscribe to HammerHands 9 and Pop Culture Rocks. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for joining us. Have a good one, HammerHands.
Peace.